Welcome back to the Cat Dad Show. Now, for all the cat lovers out there, have you ever wondered what your cat is saying or what their behavior means? I know I wonder this all the time with my cats. Well, today we're going to actually cover how to communicate with our cats and how even our energy and our emotions affect our cats. We're also going to cover some hidden reasons for behavior that even vets aren't trained in. And we're going to also talk about end of life care and making these tough decisions. Today, my special guest is Blair Hope. She works with pet parents who want to understand what their pet is feeling and how they can help them. She's an animal communicator and a certified animal hospice practitioner, among other things. Welcome to the Cat Dad Show, Blair.
Thanks. I'm really excited to be here with you.
I'm excited to have you here. And, cat communication. I mean, we could probably talk for a couple of hours about this. I don't know what my cats are saying, what they're thinking, what their behavior means. So you're gonna come in and hopefully clear a lot of this up. But let's really define what we mean by communication. We're gonna be talking mainly about cats today. When we think about communication, are we talking about meowing? Are we talking about body language? Are we talking about behavior? Is it all of them?
It's all of it because we communicate on so many levels with our cats and they communicate back to us on so many levels. Body language, they vocalize, we use words, and then we can feel each other's energy and emotions and also by behavior. And sometimes the behavior is kind of like, okay, you didn't understand this way, and I try to tell you this way. I'm gonna have to show you a different way. And sometimes behavior is also a really big way of communicating.
So let's really jump right in and talk about how can we as a cat owner start communicating with our cats better and making them I really want to talk about making the cats and the cat owners' lives better. I want them to have that bond. I want them to understand each other. How do we actually start with that?
Well, I mean, just like between people, communicating and listening to each other builds trust and relationship. So it's so important. And the first thing I always tell people is talk to your pets. And I think most of the time as pet parents, we do. But what's interesting is we don't always realize the different ways that we're sending a message. And sometimes it doesn't, our words and our emotions don't match. And that's where things can get confusing for our animals, and we can inadvertently even like contribute to behavior that we don't want. So I say start talking to your cat. And then the other part of communication, of course, is listening. And that is, I think, whether it's people or cats we're talking to, sometimes that's the harder part.
Yeah, so you make a and I know we'll dive into, more of this a little bit later, but yeah, like, I guess, like, our emotions and our energy can affect how our cats are receiving our words. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because even though they may not understand the actual spoken words that we're using, they understand the emotions behind it,
Okay.
and it's all energy. So when I say this, I mean electromagnetic energy, not like hyper energy.
Right.
And so we have this field of energy around us. And if you ever just known someone's walking up behind you and you could feel them, but you don't see them.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So what you're feeling is your energy field coming in contact with their energy field. And so with our animals, dogs have an energy field that's 10 times bigger than ours, and cats is huge, huge energy field. I mean, you can fill your house probably. And this is how our animals can sense things either before we do or things we don't even notice because they have this big expanded energy field. And they use it to sense what's in their environment. And sometimes is it safe or is it not? And because of this, we are usually in their energy field. And so if we are feeling happy or stressed or sick or frustrated or worried, they're going to pick up that feeling because that's what they do.
Yeah, okay, and then that's gonna affect, how they respond. Maybe they might act out, I guess, or they may if we're anxious, they may be anxious, right? Such as a trip to the vet.
Yes, yes, and
Okay.
that's a big one, and, sometimes our cats know, like, that we are having a rough day and we need comfort, and if
Yeah.
they're a if they like to do that, they'll just show up and sit on your lap because they can sense that, or, they might go take their space and be like, "I'll get a little bit when it feels better here." So, it does affect, their behavior, and if there is a lot of anxiety or a lot of stress or anxiety around a situation, like anticipating a vet visit when you know that maybe it's not easy for your cat, they pick up on that, and it's kinda like their little alert goes off of there is something to be worried or concerned about.
What are the most common reasons that cat owners come to you for? What are they, see what you offer and, uh, you offer plethora of services like communication, behavior, end of life care, but what are maybe some of the most common things that you help cat owners with?
I would say the most common are behaviors that the person's tried to figure out and they can't figure it out. Maybe they've gone to the vet and there's not a health problem. So they're like, okay, we know that's not, they're going outside the litter box, but we know they don't have a UTI. So there's something else going on. Maybe they've tried to make some changes and the cat is still behaving that way. So some common things are, like I said, litter box issues, food, a lot of questions around food and cats
Mm,
not eating or not wanting certain food anymore, um, biting or scratching or hiding or isolating. It's really easy to take that personally. My cat doesn't like me. Um, but there's always a reason, and it's never that your cat doesn't like you.
yeah.
And it's never that they're trying to be difficult. There's always a reason, and there's a variety of reasons that I can share with you.
Yeah, play so, like, for me, I probably go in the opposite direction, and if a cat's behavior changes, I panic, So, like, if they're going outside the litter box or if they're hiding or not eating, because I've had 2 previous cats, who have since passed away, now I have 2 new cats who are in either direction of me, and I find myself actually being, I don't wanna say overcautious, but I'm really hypersensitive to, like, "Oh my gosh, what did that mean?" I haven't seen that before, and I think it's just because I don't wanna call it the trauma of losing 2 cats previously, but, it is very traumatic to lose a pet, so maybe that is the right word, and now I feel like I almost like PTSD, like, a little bit oversensitive and over aware of, like, "Oh my gosh, should I be calling my vet for this specific reason?" So, how do you actually what is, like, the technique that you use um, to, like, communicate with cats? If you were working with a cat owner, how would you actually, uh, uh, start to learn what that cat is what their behaviors mean and what their meows mean?
Yeah, that's a good question. So most of my work is remote, meaning I'm here in my home healing office and the cat's at home with their persons. I work with people all over the country and sometimes internationally. And so I'll ask for a picture of the cat just as a way for me to kind of tune in, like kind of a radio signal, I guess, in a sense. And I reach out energetically to that cat. I know, like, if you sent me a picture of one of your cats, I'd have the picture, I'd know their name, that they're connected to you, that they're in your home, and I can tune into their energy. Um, and I always start by introducing myself to the cat, letting them know who I am, that you asked me to connect with them and why. Because occasionally they worry they're in trouble. So usually it's just like, we want to find out what you need and how we can help you. And then I'm here to give them a voice and then I listen. So, I get information in several ways, and sometimes it's a combination. Um, I sometimes get kind of physical sensations in my body of areas where they may be feeling something. I get pictures in my head, I get words, I get thoughts, and sometimes it's just a knowing. A lot of times it comes with personality and imagination, or emotion, which I love to all the personalities. And so I quiet when I'm listening, and then I tell you as you're on the phone with me, this is what I'm feeling from your cat. This
Mm,
is what I'm getting and sensing. And with behavior, I like to ask the person on the phone with me to tell me what they've observed. So if there's a behavior going on that you don't know what it means, I'll ask you to tell me about it while I'm connected to your cat so I can feel and hear what your cat's perspective is. and what their experience is. And that often gives us information um, that we couldn't get otherwise.
All right, this is fascinating. And so you do this over the phone, or is it also on video, or do you ever
Um,
like want to actually see the cats, live and in person?
I locally in my area where I live in Maryland, I do some home visits, but most
Okay.
of my clients are by phone. And for me personally, it works better not to have video because it's distracting for me. So,
Oh,
um, and it's also some people, this is a question I get a lot. The cat does not need to hear me over the phone. Like I'm connecting with them, I guess telepathically, energetically. So I don't connect in a way that or talk in a way you can hear, although often I'll say out loud what I'm saying to the cat so you know what I'm telling them.
now is this a skill that you learned, or is this something that you were a gift that you were given?
It's I'm not someone that, always could hear the animals. I've always loved animals, but about 12 years ago, I found Healing Touch for Animals, which works with the energy system because my lab was 12 and I wanted to find a way to keep him healthy that was a little more
Mm,
natural.
mm.
And so I was practicing these Healing Touch for Animals techniques, working on animals that often were having health issues. And I started getting like thoughts about the animals that their person hadn't told me. And the first time I remember, I was working with a husky that physically could not stand up without assistance from a person. And I saw this image in my head of him running through this field. And I thought, that's definitely not happening. I don't know what that is. Um, and so I just kind of dismissed it as my imagination, I guess. But one day, not too long after that, I went to a friend's house to pick up her key because I was going to take care of her dog for the weekend, house sit for her. And she answered the door and she was just in tears. So I came in and I sat with her and I did some healing touch techniques on the dog to help him get comfort. And she was saying, like, I don't know, maybe this is it. He'd had a lot of health problems. I don't know what to do. Um, and she was really distraught. And I kept seeing this picture of this like copper key and I finally, after 3 times seeing it, I told her, I said, "I don't know what this is, but I keep seeing this copper key." And I helped the dog feel comfortable and I left. And not even 10 minutes later, she sent me this message that for some reason, she didn't know why, she went in her bedroom and opened her jewelry box, and there was a little copper key that had the words "let go" engraved in it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I still get
Is
chills
that
when
a
I say
sign? Shit.
yeah.
Oh,
So I went, "Whoa, okay, something's happening." And from there, I just started being more open to it. And I started getting information that the owners would confirm that there's no way that I would know otherwise. And I think like any skill, it's being open to it and practicing it. And the more you practice it, the more you kind of trust what you're doing. And so the more you get. Um, and so it just naturally developed and personally, I did take some, mentorship classes with some animal communicators later I just wanted to go deeper and find out what else I could do. And also my meditation practice helped me quiet my mind, and that helped me develop my skills too.
mm. What are some common signals that cats give us that we may be missing or misinterpreting?
That's a good question. A lot of times cats will try to bring things to our attention. So they will come, um, sit on us. Sometimes they will try to get us messages, and sometimes we do get those messages we don't know. So, for example, I was working with a cat who was showing me like the back of his neck was really stiff and uncomfortable. And I told this person that, and she goes, "Oh, I just started massaging that area of his neck yesterday, all of a sudden." So, a lot of times we do get the signals, we just
Yeah.
don't connect it or put it together. But trying to bring things to your attention if a cat's coming up to you and just I don't know, it just feels like they're trying to tell you something. Sometimes you can quiet your mind and just be open to hearing it and trust that if you get an idea at some point connected to your cat, it's very likely something they were trying to tell you.
Yeah.
If they keep going to a certain area of the house, um, vocalizing, especially behavior that's a little unusual for your cat. So if your cat doesn't vocalize a lot and they start, that's usually a sign they're trying to tell you something.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually gonna that was actually my next question. I was like, if a cat's behavior changes, and I know we talked a little bit about that, and I think for me, the ones that I've seen the most with my previous cats that, that aren't with us anymore were being more vocal or, um, being more needy. Uh, and I know you may not be able to just, pull something out of your hat here to say what that meant, but is there any maybe kind of something in general what that usually means if they're more vocal? Say they're meowing more or they're just with you all the time and they won't leave your side. Is there anything that you can surmise that that may mean for them?
So it's very often it's kind of one of 2 things, that they have an unmet need that they're trying to communicate to you. And so it
Okay.
could be a physical health need, it could be that they need attention, it could be that they're not feeling well, um, or they're sensing something's going on with you and they're trying to figure out what, and maybe even bring it to your attention like, "Hey, can you take care of yourself because it doesn't feel good to me?" Or, "What can I do to help you?" It's kind of one of those 2 things.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And I know when before we started our chat here, I asked you if you could maybe help me help a friend with their cat. And I know kind of putting you on the spot here. I don't know if you need to see a picture or whatnot, but her cat is about 16. The cat's name is Remy, and Remy has a couple kind of behavior changes that my friend, just doesn't know what they mean. So do you mind if we kinda go through these?
Yeah, and so I don't believe in coincidences either, and that's my mom's name, so I would love to hear about this cat.
Lemmy is your mom's name.
It is.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, we may be onto something here. So my friend's name is Lori, and so Remy follows Lori around when she's getting ready and meows all the time. She sits at Lori's feet and looks up at her, sometimes claws at her. So just yeah, so that's kind of the description of that.
First question that comes to mind, and I will often ask this question is this a new behavior?
I believe it's a new behavior,
Oh,
yeah, it did. And Lori has only had Remy for 2 a little bit over 2 years, even though Remy is 16, so Lori's not the initial mom.
okay. My sense is that it's something she's trying to tell Lori about Lori.
Okay,
Um, and one of my questions that I often will ask people when there's behavior changes, is there anything in your life or your home or somebody really close to you that has changed in the last couple months or that is going to change? Doesn't have to be at all related to the cat.
okay,
So that's a question I would ask her because my sense I'm just gonna kinda, like, listen here for a second.
yeah,
My intuitive sense is that Remy's worried about something for Lori or about Lori. It feels
okay,
like concern for her. Um, and very often our cats, all animals, but especially cats, will bring things to our attention about our human lives and sometimes our relationships with other people, that they are concerned about or that they feel like we need to pay attention to and maybe change a little bit.
okay.
Um, so intuitively, it feels like it's more about Lori than
Interesting,
anything that might be wrong with Remy.
okay. I'm sure Lori will like to know that
Yeah,
maybe
I'd love
something's
to
wrong.
talk to her at some point and find out
Yeah,
more.
I know
Um,
Lori's been
mhm.
traveling a lot for work, which is new, so she'll be gone a week at a time, and she feels bad to leave Remy alone, and
Okay,
that's
okay.
I don't know.
So, yeah, a couple things I would suggest for Lori is to make sure that she's told Remy what's going on
Mhm,
with work.
okay,
And the other thing, and this is something I love to share, so it's a good opportunity, um, to talk to Remy when she's away. Because so I said mentioned that we have this connection, energetic connection. They can feel us when we're in their energetic space. But when we have a bond with pets, that connection goes way beyond any physical distance. And so I would suggest that she start talking to Remy when she's away.
okay,
It doesn't really matter what she says, and she can say it out loud or she can just mentally send her thoughts, so it's not like not calling, not, having someone put her on the phone.
yeah,
but just anything to keep in touch so that Remy feels that she's still connected to Lori and knows when Lori's coming home. Because my sense is that Remy, either and without talking to Lori, I'm not sure, but I'm getting kind of 2 things that it could either be that, again, she's kind there's feel like there's a little bit of concern, like, maybe is this a good change or good situation for Lori, looking out for
Mm,
Lori's best interest somehow. Um, and also having some questions about the travel and just maybe needing some information.
okay. Nice. And so Lori's my best friend, so I'm usually the cat sitter. And so I'm sending Lori lots of pictures, but maybe there's more opportunities to do a video call and, just show her Remy and she can talk to Remy almost over a video call, that sort of thing. And
Yeah, you could definitely do that, and what's even sometimes more powerful than that is literally just to mentally talk. So, I mean,
mentally, yeah.
Lori could just reach out to Remy and just either say out loud like she would if she was there, or just mentally in her head say, like, like, "Hey, I hope you're having a good day. This
Oh,
is what I'm doing
okay.
today. I miss you." Anything, because our cats feel that, especially cats, but all animals, our cats feel that. Um, I actually I had someone I worked with that traveled a lot for work. I don't think this is the same thing as Laura's situation, but it reminded me that traveled for work, and she had a pet sitter that her cats adored. Except that when she would go away, and she knew that they adored him, they wouldn't eat and they would poop outside the litter box pretty much every time. And she traveled a lot for work. She was starting to travel more and more. And when she started talking to her cats from a distance, just mentally sending them thoughts, sending them love every day, totally stopped.
Okay. Well, I'll tell Lori that. And I want to pass along a message because one of your audience members is watching us, Blair. Amy Carroll says she loves Blair and that you are so kind. So just wanted to pass that to you. And if you, those who are watching, if you have any questions, feel free to pop those in the chat. Can I ask you one more Lori and Remy question? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. And it may be the same answer. But the other thing Lori has noticed is uh, Remy, they'll sleep together but Remy has started like sleeping on her shoulder more and like pawing at Lori's face. So Remy will like paw at Lori's face, sleep real close like on her shoulder. So that's kind of another new behavior that Lori is seeing.
Still get a feeling of like concern for Lori.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that's the feeling that kind of pops up is some kind of concern. It's like the Remy wants to make sure Lori's okay.
Okay.
Um, with something that's going on in her life is the feeling that I'm getting is just concern. And so whatever changes or if there's anything going on that Lori's been maybe not related to travel or being separate from Remy, but if there's something going on in Lori's life where she's trying to make a decision or um, anything that's kind of been on her mind, she might just want to talk to Remy about it and let her know what's going on. And the other thing is like, it's okay for us not to be okay. So, like, if our cats ever are feeling like we're stressed and they're worried about us, um, we don't have to just pretend everything's okay. But it is helpful to let them know, like, we have someone that we can talk to, or this is what we're doing to try to take care of ourselves so that they know that we have support.
Mm. Well, thank you. I'll pass all this on to Lori. She'll be watching this, I'm sure, and
Okay.
then maybe even reaching out to you, Blair. I
Yeah.
love it. Cats are notorious for hiding their illnesses or pain. How can we really start to figure out, hey, is my cat sick? Are they in pain? Are they okay?
Um, Behavior is one big way that cats communicate that.
Mm,
And especially when there's so a lot of times, that shows up with something going on with the food or they're not doing the same activities or they're not grooming themselves. Those are kind of signs when their behavior changes. Now cats and all animals, but definitely cats are very adaptable, so they will usually find another way to do something. I'm just trying to think what other signs they might and sometimes I think like we started to talk about before, sometimes behavior that looks, I guess, troubling, can be a way of us letting us know, like, I don't feel right. Something doesn't feel right. And I've seen it both of like, "Hey, I need help. Let me get your attention by pooping outside the litter box or scratching you." But also I've seen it where like, I am just really they're just really off balance and they don't feel good and they kinda like maybe can't control it. So it can happen for, kind of intentionally to communicate and also because they're just off themselves. But a difference in behavior change is usually either gonna be physical health or
Mm,
it's going to be that they're feeling some kind of stress.
okay. And then kind of switching gears a little bit, if we like if we don't want a cat to do something and they keep doing it over and over again, like my 2 here that are now 1 year old, so they still have the kitten energy, and there's certain things that, like getting up on the countertop, and what is the best way to communicate with a cat to help them, I guess, not do something that you don't want them to do? Obviously, probably yelling's not the best approach, raising your voice, so what would you suggest?
Well, okay, so I have a couple of suggestions, and cats are fun and interesting because we usually have to find their motivation. I'll be honest, dogs just want to make us happy a lot of the time. Cats
Yeah,
are like, "What's in it for me?
right.
Why should I do this?" So that's part of it. The first thing I always suggest is that we as the person get clear on what we want, and sometimes that starts with what we don't want. So, like, okay, we don't want them up on the counter. Where can they go?
Mm.
Like, where is okay for them to go? And then why what's their motivation? Or and sometimes it's like, why is it important to you? Sometimes they just need to know, like, look, I really care about this, and they need to feel that you really care. And sometimes it's a consequence. If you keep doing this, this is what's going to happen. So then it becomes a choice on their part. Um, and other situations besides the counter, it's that would probably be mostly how it makes you feel and maybe what the consequences. Maybe they can't come in the kitchen or they can just feel that like it upsets you. And here's where you can go. Um, Other times it's if you're trying to get your cat to take some medicine or let you clip their nails, what's the benefit for them? What are they going to be able to do if you let them clip your nails? Like, hey, then you can come on my lap.
Mm.
Or what's the benefit of the medicine? What's their motivation? You got to figure out something that can be their motivation. Get clear on what you want. And then the third thing is, and this is kind of tricky sometimes. So when you tell your cat, this is what I want you to do, this is what it looks like. And then you have to picture in your head them doing what you want. So, like,
Oh,
what happens is, like, I don't want my cats on the counter, and they come in there, and I'm like, "God, they're gonna get on the counter again." And that's the first thing that pops in my head, right? The
yeah,
picture of them on the counter. And so we end up sending some confusing messages sometimes that we don't mean to and can actually sometimes contribute to behavior that we don't want.
yeah.
Yeah. And
So
another thing with behavior, sometimes they need, like, another option, like I said, where can you go? Or they need a job. Or a role in your life, like,
oh, okay.
sometimes you have to give them a job
I
to
like
stop them
the
from
sound
doing
of
what you
that.
don't want, so they have something else to
Right.
do.
Yeah, I've been trying to give them, like, an alternative, like, what do they like better than being on the counter? Well, maybe playing with a laser pointer, because usually getting that out and they'll forget the counter and they'll jump down and start playing with the laser pointer, so it's almost like giving them a better alternative, and that works much better than, like, hey, raising the voice and saying, "Get down," and that sort of thing, so, awesome.
Yeah.
From
Yeah,
you what
and oh, sorry,
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead, Blair.
Oh, and like what you were saying, you figure out, like, what is it about the counter that is filling a need for them or exciting, and then you find another way to meet that need that's
Yeah.
not the counter that works for both of you.
You've mentioned there are hidden reasons for pet behaviors that vets may not even catch. Can you give some examples?
Mhm. Yeah, so, I always tell people to, if there's a change in behavior, to rule out any medical problems first
Yeah.
because we can rule that out. But cats behavior can show up for different reasons. So one thing is that their energy can be off balance. I mentioned that energy field. They also, just like we do, have energy centers or chakras through the body. So they have this electromagnetic energy running through their body and supporting their set ability to sense things and feel things. And if that's off balance, then um, there's sometimes where all the other solutions that we have aren't as effective because they feel everything and it feels uncomfortable or everything feels dangerous to them. and they feel like they have to defend themselves. And so if we can get that energy in balance, then it takes away that underlying cause, and then either their behavior will change or the other things that we're doing will be more effective because they can do better. And
Yeah. And speaking of energy, like, I just know, like, from my previous cat, Mia was the last one that passed away a year ago, she was 20. Like, I know I probably put out really horrible energy, like, when I had to take her to the vet so often. She hated car rides. I would get anxious and nervous and really, like, worked up about it. What would have been a kind of a better, I guess, strategy, for lack of a better word, for me to handle that experience of taking her to the vet and getting her in the carrier and putting her in the car that may have been beneficial for her and calmed her down a little bit.
I love helping people with this. I just created a guide and I'm about to do a live class, offer that. Because I had that experience with my own cat.
Yeah.
We get nervous, right? Whether it's that they're gonna hide when we get the carrier out. We won't be able to go to our vet appointment, or it's gonna be expensive, or it might be bad news, or we just know that they don't feel good. So one of the most important and effective things you can do is to calm your own nervous system, which is also calming your energy. Because think about it, if one of your friends showed up and said like, "Hey, get in the car," and they were really anxious, you'd go like,
Mhm.
"I don't know,"
Right.
or tell you like, "It's safe, it's okay," and you're like,
Where
I don't think you feel it's safe and okay."
Right. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
So, one of the things I love doing is before you even get that cat carrier out, do some breathing. There's some really good simple breathing techniques you can do. Physically relax your shoulders and your body because then that helps bring your energy back down too, and they can sense that. Um, and then thinking about, just like with the other behavior, what exactly are you asking them to do and what does that look like? So, I need you to get in the cat carrier, or I need you to come next to me and let me pick you up and put you in and be able to close the door. And I need you to be calm when I do that.
Mhm.
Or I need you to come out into this room so I can put you in the carrier. Motivation's another good one here. What's in it for them going to the vet? It could simply be so you can stay healthy and we can keep playing and you can do all the fun things you like. I worked with a cat recently who was having an eye problem. And I talked to her about like, you need to see things. You want to see things. And so we need to get you to the vet to take a look at your eyes so you can see clearly again. Um, and staying cool, calm and having that mental picture that your cat's calm, and that's honestly one of the hardest parts.
Yeah. Now, when you're speaking, like, "I need you to get into the carrier so you can see again," for example, are you saying it out loud verbally, or are you thinking it and kinda transferring that thought to the cat?
You can do either way, and they're
Either
both
one.
equally effective.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, if this was my cat, I needed to get them to the vet. The first thing I do is tell them. And I think a lot of times we don't want to tell them because we assume that they're going to get anxious and hide, and we could just maybe sneak it up and it'll be easier. But when you know something's going on, they know something's going on, and they might not know what. And sometimes that can cause more problems. So I tell my cats, we're going to go to the vet. Here's why. Here's what's going to happen at the vet, and I kind of run through in my mind, imagining them coming out here, either getting in the carrier on their own or letting me pick her up and put her in the carrier, letting me easily close the door behind her. And you can continue that if you want. Just visualize for a minute your cat being calm on the ride. Maybe you're talking to them. And when you get there, like you go right into the vet and everybody's calm and they're relaxed. So sending that kind of telling them a story out loud and with your mental pictures. Surprising how much of a difference that can make. And it also helps you feel calm, which is one of the biggest things you can do, like I said.
Yeah. How about I've seen, like, on YouTube, kind of calming meditative music for cats, and does is that helpful for, like, car rides?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say anything that feels calming and relaxed to you is probably going to be good for your cat.
Yeah.
And also, again, they're in your energetic space. So if you calm yourself, they're going to start to feel calm. Music is great. Listening to something that's relaxing is great. I know you've talked about EFT and tapping on your show before. Tapping, the last time I went to the vet, I tapped for myself on all the like things I was worried about with the vet. And as I relaxed, I looked over and my cat in the carrying the seat next to me started lying down and relaxing, and I was just tapping on myself.
Yeah, that was new to me, the tapping, and I saw that how beneficial that is. Had a couple questions from audience, from Ishan. I'm not hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Said, "Why do cats like to sleep on their people's faces?" So almost like we mentioned, Lori's cat slept right here. I had my previous cats really kind of did the same thing. They were all over me up here on the neck, wrapped around. And any thoughts on why they like to sleep really close to your face or even on your face?
That's a good question. I've never asked a cat that. Um, my sense is, well, they sometimes they just wanna be close,
Mhm.
and they just want to be what that feels like to me is a cat being very vulnerable, being comfortable being very vulnerable with you, having that deep, deep trust and connection, and they want you to feel that from them also. It just feels like a really big bonding moment, um, and just a sign of trust and closeness and enjoying the feeling that they're getting from being so close to you.
Yeah, for my, uh, cat Mia that passed away last year, her brother passed away 3, about 3.5 years prior to that, almost 4 years prior to that, and the bond I had a really close bond with both of them. But when her brother, Nomar, passed away, it felt like the bond with Mia and I just skyrocketed. And then she got sick, so her last 2 or 3 years, she had illnesses. It was just me and her, nobody else in the apartment, and she, just felt that closeness to her. And I think that's when she slept, more on my chest and my shoulders and was just always touching me and on me. I loved it. I loved kind of that close bond that we had in her kind of her, end of her life. It was really special.
Yeah, I'll have 2 cats, and we got them together, so they were essentially sisters. They were surrendered together, and then we adopted them together, and one of them passed a couple months ago, and the
Mhm.
one that's our cat that's still here has been a lot more she's always been snuggly, but she's been more just physically close, and what I picked up from her is just she was also missing that kind of snuggle and closeness from her sister, and
Mm.
so she was turning to us, we kind of turned to each other for that comfort and that closeness.
Yeah, that's definitely special. And Ishana had another question. Why do cats slap their owners? Is it just for fun or are they dominating the relationship or trying to tell us something else?
Usually they're trying to tell you something. Um, and often I think that's kind of like, okay, this is my like I'm escalating the way I'm trying to communicate with you because you're not hearing me, you're not noticing that I'm trying to tell you something. Um, it also, cats are amazingly good at boundaries. So depending on what it is, sometimes your cat's setting a boundary with you. And I think I don't know, they can teach us a lot about healthy boundaries sometimes. Cats are good at that.
Yeah, I think so too. As I learn more about body language in cats, and just I was watching another video earlier today that talked about the positioning of the tail and it moving back and forth versus being straight up. It just has so many different meanings. So yeah, definitely cats. I think set their boundaries a little bit differently than dogs, of course, which we talked a little bit about. What is maybe one thing a cat parent can start doing today to build a stronger bond with their cat? And we've talked maybe a little bit about it, just speaking out loud, and maybe that's your answer just to reemphasize. But if we wanted to start building a stronger bond with our cats today, what do we do, Blair?
To them and tell them that you wanna know how they're feeling.
Hmm.
So, definitely talk to them. I say play with it, like, it can be really fun. Um, call if you're downstairs and your cat's upstairs, just invite her and you can do it mentally, which is really fun to see too. Invite them to come down, invite them to, like, come hop up on your chair or, if you're in the kitchen and you wanna give them a treat and you don't say it out loud, but mentally you tell them, "Hey, you want some chicken?" After a time or 2 at least, watch how fast your cat comes down to the kitchen. They do hear us, and then start playing with it when you're, like, at the store or at work and you're not home, and just send them, thoughts, and, when you're driving home and you're on your way home, you can let them know, "Hey, I'll be home in a few minutes." My cat actually, when I do that, greets me at the door. When I don't, she's still upstairs in my room. So have some fun with it because when cats know that you're trying to communicate and you're also trying to understand them and you understand that they have thoughts, they have emotions, they have a soul. Um then you offer that opportunity to bond and to build trust because everybody wants to be heard.
Yeah, well said. I want to switch gears just for the next few moments and let's talk about end of life care. I know you mentioned losing two cats. Definitely the worst times of my life is to say goodbye to Nomar and Mia. How can we begin to? I know each case is unique, so maybe a little bit of a tough question, depending on whether our cat's ill. Some of them die more suddenly, but how do you help pet parents begin to just emotionally and maybe even physically prepare for their cat's end of life?
A lot of it starts with communication and trying to understand what their cats want. So when people reach out to me, they usually want to know what how their cats are feeling and what they want. And I think just being open to having that information from your pet and wanting to consider their perspective is huge. Um, a lot of times I'll do communication sessions where people just want to get answers. They want to know like, are you in pain? Does this medicine help? What do you want? What do you like? Why do you meow when I do this around you? So just trying to understand your pet. And the other thing is as you do that, like you know your pet better than anybody. Better than me, better than the vets. We can all give you advice. But knowing your pet and knowing what they enjoy doing and what's important to them is a great place to start because while they're in that period between starting to decline and whenever they cross over, like they're still here. And so giving them the best life you can and thinking about, okay, I know my cat loves to sit in the cat tree in the sun in the window. And I know that she can't really get up there anymore. So, like, maybe there's a sunny place that they can put a little blanket down on the floor. Finding ways that you can adapt to help them enjoy the things that they enjoy doing. Um, Starting to getting information on what to expect if your cat has a illness or, that is life limiting, asking some questions of your vet of what are some things that might happen, and then I help people talk about, like, okay, how can you cope if you start to see signs of that? Like, are there things you can do at home to make it easier for your cat? How would you care for them physically? Um, and and really I think getting information both through animal communication, like what does my pet want and how are they feeling, brings a lot of peace because we always want to know and we always worry, I think, that we're not doing the right thing or that we missed something, right? We want to do the best and everything that we can for them. So that brings a lot of peace. And then thinking ahead a little bit about and knowing what might happen and having like a plan A and a plan B um, helps us to be present because as human beings, sometimes we can go right into the like, my cat has a diagnosis. I need to do euthanasia. But
Mhm.
most of the time, there's a good period between that. And if you can have information, um, know who you're going to call when there's a problem, know what you might expect, have some supplies at home, then you can be more present with your cat and you can enjoy that time that
Mhm.
they are here with you. And very often when we do that, it turns out to be like the closest bond we've ever had with our pets.
Yeah, I mentioned Mia, who passed away last year. Her, you know, she was declining for a couple years. She had kidney disease, and then she also was having a lot of mobility issues. Couldn't even use the kind of the portable stairs that I gotten her to get up and down, like the sofa and the bed. She couldn't really use that the last 6 months, and then kind of at the end, she got diagnosed with lymphoma. But the last 6 months when she couldn't go up and down the little stairs, even to the sofa or to my bed, I put the sofa cushions on the floor and I slept with her down there for the last 6 months, and not that I wanted her to have that struggle, but like you just mentioned, it was the closest I've ever felt to her or really, to any animal. And I'll never forget that. It was just quite, a beautiful, uh, last 6 months that we had together because we did share so much and we shared, every night we were still sleeping together just on her level, according to her ability. And, just I wouldn't trade that for the world. So like you said, I loved, just hearing like how you thought through that process of how can we make our pets end of life more comfortable for them. And then one thing you did mention, and you said, uh, start to find out what the cats want. Um, Provided we're not working with you, Blair, how do we know that? How do we know what our cats want when it's getting close to the end of their life?
Well, you can think about your cat and who they have a personality, right? They have a cat analogy, I guess. Um, what do they like? Do they like in their life when they were healthy? Do they like being close to you? Do they like playing with toys? Do they like sitting in the sun? Do they go outside? So, and then you can watch their behavior. And are they still able to do, in some sense, that way what they liked to do before? I will preface that with cats, again, are really good with taking care of themselves. So
Mm,
cats, even more than dogs, will isolate, will self-isolate. And often that they're trying to like clear any pain, they're trying to manage their energy, or they're trying to prepare for the transition process. So knowing that your cat might self isolate, other than that, are they still wanting to do some of the things to the extent that they're able to at that time that you know that they love doing? Um, and when that starts to, and as long as they are, and you're able to manage their comfort with, different medications or homeopathy or anything like that, um, you kind of just have to keep checking in. And if you're asking them what they want, so without an animal communicator kind of facilitating that, what I always suggest in any situation, and definitely at this time, is ask. Ask that question, like, what
mm,
do you want? And then you have to kind of let go of needing the answer. So I say, like, ask that question and then go for a walk, go do something else. And so very often, you will just have a feeling, have an idea out of the blue. I'm telling you, even things like an email will pop up with like something and you're like, "Oh, that would be helpful." You will get the answer. It's just sometimes we try so hard to listen, and even as an animal communicator, when there's something at stake and we're emotionally invested, sometimes it's hard. So that would be my biggest suggestion, is just ask and observe and then, like, let it go and trust that if you get a feeling or an idea, that you're getting an answer from your cat.
mm. Yeah, that's a big one, trust.
Yeah.
Sometimes hard, easier said than done sometimes, I know guilt for, just the loss of a pet can be a really big emotion that people experience, like, "Hey, did I do enough?" Or, "Did I let go too soon?" And, sometimes we just have to trust that we did our best. We love our pets with all of our heart. We did our best with the resources that we had available to us at the time, and just have to sit with that and be comfortable with that. Uh,
Yeah, and so what I would love for people to know, well, first of all, is when you are trying to understand your cat and do the right thing for do what they want and what's best for them out of love, like, you can't get it wrong. You
mm,
really can't. And I do communicate with animals that have crossed over, and I have never had an animal that is upset with their person. They always know we did our best with whatever information or situation or resources we had. We did it all with love, and I've had so many say, like, even when a person's asking or they're having a hard time caring for them and the pet's still here, the pet will say, like, "I'm not going to recover. And so if it's hard for you, I'm okay with letting go." And the emotion that comes through from our pets after they cross over is always love, always knowing we did everything we did with love. We did the best that we could. Um, I love actually doing those sessions because it brings a lot of peace for people.
mm, yeah, and speaking of which, just for the audience out there, I put together a guide for pet loss grief. So if anybody is watching, just comment grief in the chat and I'll make sure to get that to you. Cause I know that's, again, the hardest thing I've gone through is pet loss grief. And I've witnessed countless other people go through that same pain as well. Do want to share a message from one of your fans, Blair Ann Wilson. Said Blair is amazing, both with communication and her healing abilities. In the past 12 years, she's been instrumental in aiding my family, 3 cats, 26-year-old horse, and myself to better understand and heal. So awesome.
Oh.
You have an amazing support crew there, Blair. And thank you so much for that comment. Blair, I know you call yourself a therapist for your pet. What does that mean?
So this is something that's kind of my communications evolved in, and it feels like therapy. When I'm working with an animal with behavior, and usually there is, unless there's a physical need or they're trying to um, show us our own patterns, our human patterns to change. Very often it's fear based. Even if our cats are biting us or scratching us or peeing on our stuff, usually there's a fear behind it. So if there's a fear and I can get a sense of what that is, I will ask the cat, like, okay, what if you didn't do this? What if you didn't bite to keep people away from you because you're doing it to keep yourself safe? It's that like the offensive to keep myself safe. I'm like, what if you didn't do that? What would happen?
Mm.
And usually they sit with it and they're like, well, nothing. And we go through that a couple times, like, what would happen? Or, you get into, if your person wants you to do something and you're not sure about it, like, what would happen if you tried it? And usually it's like, oh, it would be safe. And I could just kind of go through that, picturing it with them a couple times. And it's really interesting that just like us, in some situations, animals can start to feel like, okay, that's a fear, but my body feels calm and I'm safe. So it's not real.
Mm. Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Uh, gosh, I'm learning so much. And another comment from Ian I wanted to share with you, Blair. At 19, Liam has struggled with health issues for 3 years. I'm guessing that's a cat, Liam. Blair's repeatedly helped him heal and has let me know that although he's been close to leaving a number of times, he's not ready to go yet. And it's been miraculous. So, how beautiful to hear that. That must make you feel so good. Uh,
Him has been the most incredible teacher. I'm so
mm.
grateful to him.
Yeah. You did mention that you can communicate with cats and other animals after they've passed away. Could you tell me a little bit more about how that works? Let's say I wanted to communicate with Mia or Nomar. How would that actually work?
So for me as the communicator, it works the same as if they're here in a body. I still get a picture of them. I have you on the phone. I reach out to them energetically because we don't, whatever your beliefs are, there does seem to be some type of energy that's still there. And we do have a connection when we're bonded with our pets that lasts beyond them being here in a physical body. And so I reached out to them and connect you, and you can ask anything that you want. And they answer questions. And very, very often they have wisdom and guidance for their people because our pets know us better than sometimes we even want to admit we know ourselves, and they want things to be good for us. They want us to be happy.
That gives me chills just to
Yeah.
just imagine that scenario of you communicating with pets that have crossed and just be able to bring a message back to the pet owners. That must be so rewarding for you to be able to do that.
It's amazing. And what I love, I think best about it is first of all the peace that the person gets,
Mm,
but then people very often after we've done a session tell me that they can better feel the presence of their pet. They feel connected more than they did before they had the communication session. So then they're able to communicate more easily. And often in the sessions, we'll ask for a sign, like, how will I know you're around?
mm.
And I've had amazing things happen. Like a dog showed me a wind chime, and his person said, my best friend gave me a wind chime when he passed over. And I hear it chiming. It's like, well, that seems to be him, letting him know that you know that he's there.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. One comment from Indu, can you be my child's therapist and mine too? Oh my gosh, I can understand why you would ask that. Let's wrap up with this question. What's one small daily habit that pet parents can incorporate to better communicate with their cats?
I would say find a time to do something that quiets your mind. Now, it like meditation's awesome, yoga's awesome. My cat meditates with me every morning. But it could be going for a walk. It could be reading a book. It could be sitting with a cup of coffee. Find something a couple minutes in your day where you can sit and just kind of let everything go because that's when you're going to be able to hear them more. And also, our cats love to be in our space when we feel like that.
Beautiful. Well said. And Blair, I would love to give you the opportunity. Where can we learn about you? I think you maybe have a resource that's out there. If you want to share with us how we can get our hands on it, anything you have coming up, please share. I want to give you this floor.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. So the best thing is to go to my website, which I'm guessing you may be in the comments, but it's my name. It's blairhope.com. And you can, there's a button at the top. You can schedule a free consult with me just to talk about your pet, what might be going on, or if you have questions about animal communication. There's also some free resources, a Get to the Vet with Less Stress guide, which was a lot of things that we talked about here, and some tip cards on what your pet might be able to tell you with their behavior and how to communicate. And you can schedule a session with me. And I'm offering a easier vet visits 1 hour online class to help you actually make a personal plan so that you can make vet visits less stressful.
I love it. I need that. Fortunately, my new cats have made it easy on me so far. They haven't stressed me out yet in terms of going to the vet, but I know
Good.
for a lot of cat owners, that is a very stressful
Yeah.
situation. Blair, gosh, I want to acknowledge you for the work you're doing. I mean, you must bring not no pun intended, but hope to so many pet owners out there. Just the love of animals that you bring and the just the connection. Like we said in your intro, you help animals and their owners feel better. What a wonderful thing to do. Want to acknowledge you for the work that you're doing, for the just the kindness and joy that you're bringing into this world. And thank you for being our special guest today.
Oh, thank you. I'm so honored to be able to do this work to help these amazing animals. And I had such a great time on your show. Thank you for having this as a resource for cat parents.
You're very welcome. We might have to do this again. This is a great topic. I learned a lot. Everybody watching, thank you so much. I really appreciate each and every one of you and hope to see you again on the Cat Dad Show. Bye, everybody.